Is there big news on the horizon from Lumix? Well, the rumor sites will have you believe that something is coming very soon. May 13th, to be precise, is the rumored and speculation date for the new Lumix announcement. Could be an S1 Mark II, maybe an S1 Mark II X, maybe some kind of new L-mount lens, maybe a fast zoom. That's what all the rumors and speculation are pointing to at this point in time. And there's plenty of people who will say, don't tell me, la la la, I don't want to hear it until I know about it. And that's probably the best advice. That's probably a good place to be, because until it's official, until it's confirmed, all we can do is speculate. And oftentimes it's wrong or only half right. And what actually becomes official sometimes can be exciting, sometimes can be disappointing. But in either case, it would be a disservice if I didn't mention it, because there's always somebody out there looking for like, what should I buy? When's the right time to buy? And if there's something kind of on the horizon, and if you can wait a little bit longer, maybe you'll be happier and have less buyer's remorse if you're just aware of what's coming. I think that is certainly valid. So if you were looking at the landscape, something just came out and you're looking at it going like, ooh, should I buy this? Should I not? If you know something else is coming soon thereafter, you might want to hold off just so you can make the best, most educated and informed decision for yourself, because there's certainly nothing worse than buying something, being excited for it. You're excited for the latest and greatest. And then all of a sudden, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months later, something better comes out and you're like sitting there going, oh, I should have just waited. And if that's you, know that about yourself, realize that you're that type of person who maybe pulls the trigger a little bit too early, and you're almost always better off waiting. There's this really hard decision to make. When is the right time to buy? When you actually need it. That is the best time to buy, is when you actually need it for a job, for a very specific use case. If you need it, then you should buy it. If you just want it, if it's nice to have, oh, I think I'll need it, maybe one day I'll need it, don't buy it. Wait until you know it's the right time, you actually need it. And even then, oftentimes you're better off renting. You're going to save some money. You can scratch that itch. Okay, I got my hands on it. I felt it. I tried it out. I don't need to buy it. I saved myself $1,000 or whatever it is in the grand scheme of things. But let's talk about an S1 Mark II, an S1 IIX, and some hypothetical fast zoom. Speculation is that it's maybe a 24-60 f2, which would be very fast, but not my ideal focal range. So let's start there. A hypothetical 24-60 f2. That's neat. That's impressive. That is somewhat exciting, but I would actually prefer a better lens for me would be a 20-60 2.8. I think I'd rather take the sacrifice in terms of aperture, in terms of low light performance, in terms of bokeh and background blur and depth of field and all that. I'll take a 2.8 if it gives me that wider field of view on the wide end of the focal range. 20 is much better for me than 24. So a 20-60, like this lens right here, the kit lens, the 3.5 to 5.6, 20-60, all I want is this lens, but a pro version. A 2.8 constant aperture, f2.8, 20-60 would be my personal dream lens. Everyone out there has their different opinions and priorities, but I think there's a lot of people like me who would love a 20-60 f2.8. And even if you said, hey, it's an f2, if it's bigger, if it's heavier, if it's a lot more expensive, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe we just stick with the 2.8 and we call it a day and we're good, we're happy, and we get work done. 24-70, f2.8, standard lens, has been around forever. Everyone knows the 24-70. Every lens manufacturer has one. 24-70, 2.8 standard. But let's keep up with the times. Let's get a 20-60, 2.8. The aperture is good. 2.8, that's good. But we just need a little bit more useful, more versatile focal range. 20-60 gets you that and beats a 24-70, I think, any day. As far as an S1 Mark II, S1 Mark IIX, we're expecting lower resolution than what they're doing, what Lumix is doing on the S1R Mark II. That's the resolution. R for resolution. That is the big killer there. 8K, open gate 8K coming. I don't think it's out yet, but supposedly coming with firmware update. 8K camera, very cool, very impressive. But I think a lot of people, maybe myself included, are just more excited for standard, 4K, 6K. That's the sweet spot, more of like what is rumored to be the S1 Mark II, which would be like a 24, 25 megapixel sensor. And I think a lot of people would be very happy with that. Lower price point, of course, because that should come with the territory, but maybe a more modern sensor than what we got in the initial S1 lineup. Even the S5 Mark II, all of the faster frame rates, the higher frame rates are cropped. If we can get rid of that crop, uncropped 60, 6K, something like that, 4K 120, something like that, I think that'd be actually quite nice and a breath of fresh air and a really nice addition to the Lumix lineup. No more cropping. I don't want to see it. I don't want to deal with it. Maybe in extreme scenarios, ultra high frame rates if we really want to push these cameras. But for the most part, I think we should be able to shoot 4K 60 uncropped. Even 6K 60 uncropped would be really nice. Will we see it in the S1 Mark II, S1 Mark II X? I don't know. I think it's kind of strange, the designations they're giving these cameras. I think the naming is a little confusing and a little clunky. We have an S1R Mark II, an S1 II, but then an S2X. Is there an S1R2X? Is that ever coming? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe the X is just the blackout video version of the base cameras, but we have like the S5 versus the S1. What's the difference? The S1 series should be better, more premium, where the S5 is an even more budget-friendly option, but we'll see. My question always is, has thermal management been factored into this thing? Because if it overheats, it's a deal breaker for me. I don't want to have to think about a camera overheating, getting too hot, and being frustrated half of the time or even 10% of the time. I don't want to worry about overheating. So if it's the S1 II, the S1 IIX, I don't care what it does or how it works, as long as it doesn't overheat. And then I'll look at things like uncropped 60 as an exciting feature. But if it overheats, all the features don't matter at all because the thing is a brick. It's toast. It's done. What are you going to do with an overheated camera? What does it matter what the features are if you can't even turn the thing on because it's too hot? Let's put the fans in, all the cameras, so we just know they all work and they deliver the features they say they should. I got the S5 II, not the S5 IIX, even though I'm someone who does prioritize video. The X just didn't make sense for me. Those premium video features in the S5 IIX are not things that I really care about all that much for modern content creation. I think there's plenty of people out there who do value things like, is it RAW over HDMI and some of the fringe features of the S5 IIX. The only reason I would have got it is because I think the blackout version looks cooler. So aesthetically, it's neat. But from a feature standpoint, didn't think it was really worth it to pay the extra cost for those handful of extra features that really didn't matter to me that much in the long run. So if it's an S1 II and an S1 IIX, I would be curious to see what the difference is. Like, does the X justify itself? Is it worth paying that premium for those extra features and maybe the blackout lettering, or is it just a handful of things that I don't really care about? You can decide for yourself once this announcement is official. Because again, it should be very soon, so we don't have too long to wait, thankfully. And everything I'm saying could all be, pretend. It's all hypothetical. It's all speculation. There's no way to know what's for real. But regardless, any of these scenarios, we're not talking about an S1H Mark II, which is actually the camera that I would probably be most excited about. You would probably be most excited about because most people are most excited for an S1H Mark II. Unfortunately, Lumix is taking their time. If it is an S1 Mark II and an S1 Mark IIX, I'm sure that'll satisfy some people. Uncropped, higher frame rates, always great to have. But I'm really looking forward to what an S1H2 could actually be. Because for me, that's the sweet spot, the perfect H hybrid camera. The S1R Mark II is not a hybrid in the way that I would consider it. All these cameras are hybrids, and I do appreciate the resolution for photography. But I think there's a mismatch in the marketing when YouTubers are the ones talking about an S1R Mark II and how great it is for video, when that's not really the purpose of it. It's seemingly, at least from my perspective, everything I've been able to see. I haven't had my hands on an S1R Mark II just because it didn't feel like a good fit for me. I think I would just be disappointed and I would have nothing to say other than criticism for it, which is probably unfair because, you know, my opinion is my opinion and I have specific needs and wants that other people just don't prioritize, and all it would do is cause frustration and issues, and that's what the camera's for, blah, blah. So I didn't even want to like put my hands on it and talk about it really, because I think I would just trigger and upset too many people. What I'm most excited about is an S1H Mark II, and if an S1 Mark II bridges that gap and gets us there, maybe worth the upgrade. But the S5 Mark II is just, it's such a good deal. I've talked about it so many times at this point, but it's such a good camera, even to the point where like, I don't even know that Lumix knew how good of a camera it was when they released it. Very popular, plenty of people shooting with it. Lots of people who don't like it as well, which is always surprising to me. People who complain about this, that, or the other missing features or stuff. But from my perspective, the S5 Mark II is about as close to a perfect camera as you could ever get. And so an S1 Mark II really has to justify itself if that is what's actually coming out, if that's what this May 13th announcement is. Could it be a box camera? Could it be something totally else, like a small point and shoot, compact action camera? It could be anything. I don't know. But if it is an S1 Mark II, it's going to have to do a lot to justify the increase. And, you know, the cost, I assume, is going to be more expensive than an S5 Mark II. It just probably has to be. The S5 Mark II, great camera. Almost reminds me of the GH5, where just so many people got that camera, loved it, myself included, that there's people to this day still shooting with the GH5 loving it because they see no reason to upgrade. They're like, this checks all the boxes and more. The S5 Mark II is kind of like that. And that's a great thing. I'm glad we get products that good from Lumix. But they have to kind of compete with themselves. They got to push things forward, justify the S1 Mark II, if that is what it's going to be. The S1R Mark II, I think it justified itself to some people for those demands. If you need resolution, then obviously having an L-mount camera that can deliver 8K is a great option to have, certainly, if you need that level of resolution. But for a lot of shooters, it's, you know, it's not worth the upgrade. There's nothing unique enough about it to differentiate it from an S5 Mark II if that's what they're already filming with. So I'm sure the S1R Mark II is a great camera for the people that it's meant for. Not meant for me. We'll see if an S1 Mark II actually delivers the stuff that I would be most interested in. But you know what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it again. It's the internal NDs. And I don't think there's any chance that an S1 Mark II has internal NDs. I just don't think it's realistic to anticipate or speculate. It's just not going to happen. That's really something that I think would be reserved for a more expensive S1H Mark II if they were going to do it at all, aside from, you know, a box camera or something like that. So I'm excited to see what an S1 Mark II could be. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who bought the S1 and have been eagerly waiting for an upgrade to kind of fix some of those quirks about the S1, that initial lineup, the crop, etc., that type of stuff. The sizing, scaling of the S1 cameras are all kind of big too. So we'll see what an S1 Mark II is, but definitely wanted to talk about it because it's on the radar, it's on the horizon. If it's happening at all, the announcement will come relatively soon, so stay tuned.